Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving headfirst into the shimmering, yet ultimately tragic, world of F. Scott Fitzgerald's American masterpiece, The Great Gatsby. If you've ever wondered about the allure of the Roaring Twenties, the intoxicating pursuit of a dream, or the quiet desperation hidden beneath layers of wealth, then you're in the right place. F. Scott Fitzgerald, often dubbed the chronicler of the Jazz Age, was a man who lived and breathed the very era he so brilliantly depicted. Born in 1896, he came of age just as America was experiencing an unprecedented explosion of economic prosperity, cultural liberation, and social upheaval following World War I. This was the Roaring Twenties, a decade defined by flappers, speakeasies, jazz music, and an almost dizzying sense of optimism and excess. Money seemed to flow like bathtub gin, and the old guard of Victorian morality was being rapidly replaced by a new, more hedonistic ethos. Fitzgerald, with his own struggles with alcohol, his glamorous yet tumultuous marriage to Zelda Sayer, and his relentless pursuit of the American dream, was uniquely positioned to capture the intoxicating highs and devastating lows of this extraordinary period. And in 1925, he gave us The Great Gatsby. This isn't just a novel. It's an enduring symbol of American literature, a profound exploration of the American dream, and a cautionary tale that resonates just as powerfully today as it did nearly a century ago. It's a book that's taught in schools, endlessly debated, and adapted into films and plays, cementing its status as one of the most important and beloved novels ever written in English. But why is it so famous? Why does it continue to captivate generations of readers? Well, it's because Fitzgerald, with his exquisite prose and piercing insight, managed to bottle the essence of an entire era, dissecting its illusions, its aspirations, and its profound sense of loss. So, let's peel back the layers of this iconic story. Our narrator, our guide through this opulent yet morally ambiguous world, is Nick Carraway. Nick is a young, earnest man from the Midwest, a Yale graduate who moves to West Egg, a more recently fashionable and less exclusive side of Long Island, New York, in the summer of 1922. He's come to New York to learn the bond business, but what he really finds is a front-row seat to one of the most compelling and tragic love stories ever told. Nick prides himself on being honest and non-judgmental, qualities that make him the perfect confidant for the eccentric characters he encounters. His new home in West Egg is a modest bungalow, but it sits right next door to an absolutely colossal mansion, a sprawling, Gothic imitation of a French hotel. This is the domain of J. Gatsby, the enigmatic millionaire whose extravagant parties are the talk of New York. Nobody really knows who Gatsby is or where his immense wealth comes from. Rumors swirl. He's a German spy, he's a murderer, he's a bootlegger, he went to Oxford. He's a figure of endless fascination and speculation. Across the bay, in the more established and aristocratic East Egg, live Nick's cousin, Daisy Buchanan, and her incredibly wealthy, incredibly arrogant husband, Tom Buchanan. Daisy is beautiful, charming, and possesses a captivating voice, but beneath her dazzling surface lies a certain carelessness, a superficiality that proves to be her most destructive trait. Tom, a former Yale football star, is a hulking, imposing figure, full of old money privilege, racist ideologies, and an insatiable appetite for extramarital affairs. He's a man who believes his social standing gives him the right to do whatever he pleases. Also orbiting Daisy and Tom's world is Jordan Baker, a professional golfer and a friend of Daisy's. Jordan is sleek, cynical, and famously dishonest, but Nick finds himself drawn to her detached glamour. These are the main players in our story, a constellation of characters whose lives are about to become inextricably intertwined. Nick's introduction to Gatsby is gradual. He attends one of Gatsby's legendary parties, a cacophony of jazz music, sparkling champagne, and endless dancing, where guests arrive uninvited, revel in the opulence, and leave without ever having met their host. Nick, feeling like an outsider, eventually finds himself chatting with a friendly stranger who, to his surprise, reveals himself to be Gatsby. Gatsby is a remarkably young man, with an air of refined elegance and a smile that Nick describes as having an eternal reassurance in it. This initial meeting hints at a deeper, more profound purpose behind Gatsby's lavish lifestyle. It soon becomes clear that Gatsby's entire existence, his colossal mansion, his infamous parties, his relentless pursuit of wealth, is all built around one singular, desperate goal: to recapture the past, to win back the love of Daisy Buchanan. Gatsby and Daisy had a passionate romance 5 years prior, before he went off to war, and she, impatient and accustomed to luxury, married the wealthy Tom Buchanan. Gatsby has spent every waking moment since then building a fortune, all in the hopes that his newfound status would make him worthy of her. He even bought his house specifically because it was across the bay from hers, so he could constantly gaze at the green light at the end of her dock, a symbol of his distant, unattainable dream. Nick, unknowingly at first, becomes a crucial pawn in Gatsby's grand design. Gatsby, realizing Nick is Daisy's cousin, subtly begins to enlist his help. He confides in Nick, revealing his deep, unwavering love for Daisy and his desperate desire to reunite with her. He asks Nick to arrange a tea party, a seemingly innocent gathering where he can accidentally meet Daisy again. The reunion is, initially, awkward and charged with emotion. Gatsby is nervous, almost childlike in his excitement, while Daisy is visibly overwhelmed by the sudden reappearance of her past love. But as they reconnect, the old spark reignites. Gatsby, overcome with joy, gives Daisy a tour of his mansion, showing off his vast wardrobe of expensive shirts, a display that brings Daisy to tears, not just from the beauty of the shirts, but from the realization of what she might have missed, what she could have had. Their romance blossoms anew, a secret affair conducted under the very nose of Tom Buchanan. Gatsby believes he can erase the past 5 years, that he can convince Daisy to leave Tom and declare that she never loved him. This is the core of Gatsby's tragic flaw, his inability to accept that the past is immutable. However, the illusion of their perfect love begins to crack. Tom, ever the suspicious and possessive husband, becomes increasingly aware of Daisy's affections for Gatsby. He starts to investigate Gatsby's background, fueled by his own prejudices and a deep-seated contempt for new money like Gatsby. The tension culminates during a sweltering summer afternoon in a suite at the Plaza Hotel in New York City. Gatsby, Daisy, Nick, Tom, and Jordan are all present, and the air is thick with unspoken accusations. Tom, enraged and feeling his privileged world threatened, openly confronts Gatsby, exposing the truth about his shady business dealings. He reveals that Gatsby's fortune comes from bootlegging and other illegal activities, effectively tearing down the carefully constructed facade of respectability Gatsby has built. He forces Daisy to acknowledge Gatsby's true nature, challenging her to admit that she loves him. Daisy, caught between the idealized dream Gatsby represents and the comfortable, secure reality of her life with Tom, falters. She admits that she did love Tom once, shattering Gatsby's most cherished illusion. Defeated and heartbroken, Gatsby tries to salvage what he can. Tom, in a cruel show of dominance, insists that Daisy drive home with Gatsby in Gatsby's flashy yellow car, a gesture meant to prove that he has nothing to fear. Tom, Nick, and Jordan follow in Tom's car. On their way back, a horrific tragedy strikes. As Gatsby and Daisy drive through the Valley of Ashes, a desolate industrial wasteland symbolizing the moral decay hidden beneath the glittering surface of wealth, Gatsby's car hits and kills a woman. This woman is Myrtle Wilson, Tom's mistress, the wife of George Wilson, who owns a garage in the Valley of Ashes. Daisy, distraught and panicked, was driving Gatsby's car at the time of the accident, but Gatsby, ever protective, immediately takes the blame, promising to shield her. George Wilson, utterly devastated by his wife's death, believes that Gatsby, the owner of the yellow car, is not only responsible for the hit and run but also for Myrtle's affair. Tom, in a despicable act of self-preservation, deliberately misleads Wilson, directing his grief and rage squarely towards Gatsby. Consumed by vengeance, Wilson tracks Gatsby to his mansion. The next day, as Gatsby floats alone in his swimming pool, still clinging to the hope that Daisy will call him, George Wilson finds him. Without warning, Wilson shoots Gatsby, killing him instantly, before turning the gun on himself. The aftermath is bleak, a stark contrast to the vibrant, crowded parties Gatsby once hosted. Gatsby's funeral is a desolate affair, attended by almost no one. Daisy and Tom disappear without a trace, showing no remorse or responsibility. None of the hundreds of people who frequented his parties bother to show up. Only Nick, Gatsby's estranged father, and a man known as Owl Eyes from the parties attend to pay their respects. Nick, deeply saddened and disillusioned, realizes the profound loneliness that lay at the heart of Gatsby's grand illusion. He sees the emptiness of the world Gatsby tried so desperately to enter, a world that ultimately consumed him. The American dream, as Gatsby pursued it, proved to be a beautiful yet ultimately fatal mirage. And it's here, amidst the tragic silence of Gatsby's deserted mansion, that Nick finally understands the true cost of chasing an impossible dream and the moral bankruptcy of the society that both enabled and destroyed his enigmatic neighbor. The story isn't just about Gatsby's personal tragedy. It's a searing indictment of the Roaring Twenties and a timeless examination of the elusive nature of happiness and the corrupting power of wealth. But beyond the plot, the real genius of The Great Gatsby lies in its deeper meanings, its powerful symbols, and its timeless themes. So, let's delve into what Fitzgerald was truly saying about America, about love, and about the very nature of human ambition. Let's delve into what Fitzgerald was truly saying about America, about love, and about the very nature of human ambition. At its heart, The Great Gatsby is arguably the definitive novel about the American dream, or more accurately, its corruption. Gatsby himself is the embodiment of this dream. He rises from humble beginnings, from James Gatz, a poor farm boy in North Dakota, to Jay Gatsby, a millionaire. This rags-to-riches narrative is a cornerstone of the American ethos. The belief that anyone, through hard work and determination, can achieve prosperity and success. Gatsby dedicates himself to self-improvement, meticulously crafting an identity he believes will make him worthy of Daisy. He creates a persona, a mansion, a lifestyle, all from nothing. But here's where Fitzgerald introduces the tragic twist. Gatsby's pursuit of the dream isn't about innovation or contributing to society. It's driven purely by a desire to acquire wealth and status, not for their own sake, but as a means to an end, Daisy. The American dream, originally rooted in ideals of discovery, independence, and a spiritual connection to a new land, has devolved into a relentless chase for material possessions and an idealized past. Gatsby's dream becomes inextricably linked to a person, Daisy, and therefore, it becomes vulnerable to her human imperfections and the immutable passage of time. He believes money can buy happiness, love, and even reverse history, which, of course, it cannot. His tragedy lies in mistaking the symbol, Daisy's wealth, her social standing, for the substance of his dream. He has a profound capacity for hope, a romantic readiness that Nick so admires, but it's tragically misdirected. This brings us to the stark contrast between old money and new money, a central theme that Fitzgerald explores with surgical precision. Tom and Daisy Buchanan represent old money, inherited wealth that carries with it an air of unquestioned superiority, established social networks, and a sense of entitlement. They are insulated, protected by their privilege, and utterly careless. They can afford to make messes and retreat behind their money, leaving others to clean up. Tom, with his inherited millions, feels he has a right to everything and everyone, from his wife to his mistress, and he views Gatsby's new money as vulgar, illegitimate, and threatening to his established order. Gatsby, on the other hand, represents new money, wealth acquired through ambition, hustle, and, in his case, illegal means like bootlegging. His mansion is ostentatious, his parties lavish, an almost desperate attempt to buy his way into a world that will never truly accept him. The old money crowd sees his efforts as gauche, unrefined, and ultimately, a sign of his inferiority. This class distinction isn't just about economics. It's about moral character. Fitzgerald suggests that while Gatsby's methods are questionable, his ambition and capacity for love are purer than the cynical, jaded carelessness of the East Egg elite. Central to Gatsby's tragedy is his inability to let go of the past. He genuinely believes he can rewind time, erase the 5 years Daisy spent with Tom, and restore their love to its pristine, idealized state. "Can't repeat the past?" he asks Nick incredulously. "Why, of course you can." This stubborn refusal to accept the finality of time is his fatal flaw. The past, for Gatsby, isn't something to learn from. It's something to be recreated, a perfect world to be summoned back into existence. His entire life is a monumental effort to achieve this impossible feat. This is where Fitzgerald's masterful use of symbolism truly shines. The most iconic symbol, of course, is the green light at the end of Daisy's dock. For Gatsby, it's not just a light. It's a beacon of his hope, his longing, his entire future wrapped up in the elusive promise of Daisy. It represents the unattainable dream, always just out of reach, yet perpetually beckoning. When he finally reaches Daisy, the symbolic power of the light diminishes, because the dream itself has been brought into the harsh light of reality and found wanting. Then there's the Valley of Ashes, a desolate industrial wasteland situated between the opulent West Egg and the established East Egg. It's a powerful symbol of the moral and social decay, hidden beneath the glittering surface of the Roaring Twenties. It represents the forgotten working class, the human cost of industrial expansion, and the spiritual emptiness of a society obsessed with wealth. It's a place where dreams go to die, where characters like George Wilson are literally turned to ash by the carelessness of the rich. Overseeing this wasteland are the enormous, spectacled eyes of Dr. T.J. Eckleburg, an old billboard advertisement. These eyes, for George Wilson, become the eyes of God, a divine judgment looking down on the moral squalor and tragic events unfolding below. For Nick, they symbolize the absence of genuine moral oversight in a society that has lost its way. Gatsby's colossal mansion, for all its grandeur and lavish parties, is ultimately a hollow shell, a monument to a dream that never fully materializes. It's a stage upon which Gatsby performs his idealized version of himself, but it's also a place of profound loneliness, as evidenced by his deserted funeral. His flashy yellow car, a symbol of his new money and his desire to impress, ironically becomes the instrument of Myrtle's death and ultimately, his own undoing. Fitzgerald also dissects the nature of love and illusion. Gatsby's love for Daisy is less about who she truly is and more about the idealized image he has constructed of her over 5 years. He loves the idea of Daisy, the embodiment of wealth, beauty, and the past he yearns for. Daisy, however, is a product of her environment. She is charming and beautiful, but also superficial, indecisive, and ultimately, careless. Her voice, which Gatsby describes as full of money, is telling. It's not her character that captivates him as much as what she represents. When faced with a choice between Gatsby's passionate but uncertain love and Tom's secure, if adulterous, wealth, Daisy retreats to the comfort of her established world. She cannot live up to the colossal expectations Gatsby has placed upon her, and her admission that she loved Tom once is a devastating blow, shattering Gatsby's most cherished illusion. The pervasive moral decay and carelessness among the wealthy is one of the most damning critiques in the novel. Tom and Daisy Buchanan are the epitome of this. They are powerful and entitled, leaving a trail of destruction in their wake without consequence. They literally drive away after Gatsby's death, showing no remorse, no responsibility, protected by their money and their social standing. Jordan Baker, too, is famously dishonest and cynical, embodying the detached glamour and moral ambiguity of the era. Nick, initially non-judgmental, becomes increasingly disillusioned as he witnesses this moral vacuum. And this brings us to Nick Carraway, our narrator. He begins as an observer, positioning himself as honest and non-judgmental. But his journey throughout the summer transforms him. He is drawn into Gatsby's world, becomes his confidant, and ultimately, his only true friend. Through Nick's eyes, we witness the glamour, the excess, and the eventual tragedy. He is both fascinated and repulsed by the world of the wealthy. By the end, he is utterly disillusioned, not just with Gatsby's dream, but with the entire moral fabric of the East. He recognizes the fundamental decency in Gatsby's unwavering hope, however misguided, in contrast to the utter lack of decency in everyone else. Nick's perspective is crucial because it offers a moral compass, however wavering at times, in a morally bankrupt landscape. He's the one who carries Gatsby's story, ensuring it's not forgotten, and offering the final, poignant judgment on the era. Finally, we can't talk about The Great Gatsby without acknowledging Fitzgerald's exquisite prose. His language is lyrical, evocative, and precise. He paints vivid pictures of the jazz age, from the blue gardens of Gatsby's parties to the foul dust that floated in the wake of Gatsby's dreams. His sentences are crafted with a poet's touch, creating an atmosphere that is both dazzling and deeply melancholic. He uses powerful imagery and metaphor to imbue every scene, every character, and every object with deeper meaning. It's this combination of profound thematic depth, brilliant symbolism, and unparalleled literary craftsmanship that elevates The Great Gatsby from a simple story of love and loss to an enduring American masterpiece. It forces us to examine our own dreams, our own pursuits of happiness, and the true cost of chasing an illusion, leaving us with that unforgettable image of the boats beating on, borne back ceaselessly into the past.